Hey, everybody. All righty. It is 3:00. We have a quorum. So if it's okay with you, I want to call this meeting to order. Okay. So the first thing that it wants me to do is a roll call. So I'm here, Jess Tuberty, Jean Schmitz is here, Jessica Doherty Goodburn is here, Kip Beckwith is here, James Walter is here. I think that's all I can see on my screen. If I'm missing anybody who's called in, please let me know. Okay. All right. The first order of business, actually, hang on. Admin, do you need for me to read something about people who want to provide public comment? Often I have to read.
Yes, hold on one second. I'll get that up for you.
Okay. It's good to see everybody. Jessica, I don't know if you're comfortable showing your baby on a Zoom meeting that's publicly televised, but congratulations. You're looking very well.
Thank you. Yeah, we're feeling good. She's right here.
Oh, good.
Very sleepy.
She's already a star.
Hey.
Oh, she looks great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. So let's see. Register to join the webinar. So you can go to www.missoulapublicmeetings.com to register to join. The agenda and related documents are available at www.ci.missoula.mt.us/webcasts. And then to raise your hand, for public comment, if you're on a computer while on the webinar in Zoom, you'll click participants and raise and lower your hand. If you are calling in, if you're a dial-in phone participant while on the webinar in Zoom, press *9 to raise your hand and then press *9 again to lower your hand. I'll try to monitor the participants if we do have public comment. And then on an iPhone or Android, it says while in the webinar in Zoom, click more to raise and lower your hand. You can also leave a voicemail at 552-6012 or email council@ci.missoula.mt.us. All right, I think that should mean we're in pretty good shape. Okay, now, the first order of business from last time, because the board chair resigned, is the nomination of board officers. And so at this time, we'll take any nominations for board chair.
Jesse, I want to interrupt. This is Ben.
Hi.
The first order of business needs to be congratulating Jessica.
Oh, we did. You missed it. She showed us the baby.
Oh, darn it. Okay, sorry.
Look.
Jessica, does the baby have a name yet?
She does. Yeah, as of Friday, Elodie.
Elodie, beautiful.
Oh, yes.
It's a lot.
She's very lovely. Our favorite bike pedestrian board member. Unofficial. Yes. So anyway, definitely the first order of business. Okay, Ben, I just did the roll call and then we were just going to do nomination of board officers after the chair resigned. So we're open for nominations. So if you would like to just raise your hand. Oh, James has got his hand up. Go ahead, James.
Jesse, is it okay for me to suggest that you be nominated chair?
I think it is. Ben can say if it's not. I think
sure,
that's fine.
You can self-nominate too if it's something that you want to do. This doesn't need to. Yeah, I think that if this is something that that you want to do and clearly you're getting a vote of confidence from some of your fellow board members.
Okay, I would accept the nomination for chair from James. And then with Gene has his hand up.
Yeah, well, James beat me to it. So, but I would in turn, because I've seen his kind of activism with the traffic circles and all for the street calming, et cetera, to nominate James as vice chair, if he's willing to accept that.
And James, would you accept that nomination?
I'm grateful for the nomination, but would, if other members of the board would like to actively seek vice chair, then would gladly have someone else take that role.
Okay, so kind of, sort of. Oh, hybrid. I see you.
Still open for.
Okay. Okay. Any other nominations? I don't see any hands up at this moment. Okay. Well, in that case, I guess we should put the nomination for chair to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, I see a bunch of waved hands. Seems like people are okay with that. And then seeing no other nominations for vice chair, James, if you're willing to accept in the absence of other nominees, we'll have a vote on you.
I'd be glad to.
Okay. All right. So all those in favor of James say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
All right. Looks like the ayes have it. So James will be our new vice chair and I'll be chair. Appreciate you guys for both nominations. I think that'll be great. And looking forward to all the good work. All right. So I think that's all we have to do. I think to move forward with the agenda, it's the approval of previous minutes. And I read through the minutes and thought they looked fine. So I don't have any issues. Does anyone else have a comment or change they'd like to make to those minutes? All right. I don't see any hands up. So we will approve the minutes from last meeting. And now the next part of this meeting is general public comments. And so let me check under participants and panelists. I see under panelists 2 attendees. Carrie Powers has a hand up. And so Ben, do you know that person or is that part of the public coming to comment?
I don't think I know that person.
Okay, then Carrie Powers, I'm going to set the button to say allowed to talk for public comment. We just ask that you keep your comments brief. I would say aim for the 5-minute range. And I'm going to push the button. Go ahead, Carrie.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. I have never called into a city council meeting at all, so I apologize if I'm a bit rambly. I will keep my comments short. I live over on the west side, and I had the unfortunate experience of witnessing a child get hit by a car yesterday on my way home from work at the intersection of Phillips and Hawthorne. Right outside of Lowell Elementary. And so I think the child is fine. My partner and I stayed until the cops and the EMTs showed up. And then we left because, we've done all we can do. But having lived in that neighborhood for about 1.5 years, and I love living over there, I just wanted to, I guess, air a bit of my frustrations with how difficult it is to walk in that neighborhood. As many Missoulians do, I have a dog and I take him for neighborhood walks every morning. And crossing Phillips is really difficult. I know that even in the short period of time that I've lived here, Phillips has become extremely busy. It's kind of becoming a main east-west artery that people use. And I know that's probably not how it used to be. But just sort of in the wake of seeing a traffic collision like that, though it, wasn't as bad as it could be, it was still quite upsetting. And I know that this committee and this council is dedicated to the safety of all Missoulians. So I'm really just kind of here to tell that story. And I know I also know that part of Phillips has a bit of a bad reputation. I know there was a woman who was struck and killed there at Phillips and Shakespeare a few years ago. So just sort of as the town continues to grow and all these other things happen, I don't really know how to close my statements. But
no, you're doing great, Carrie. First of all, thank you for coming to our committee meeting and providing comment. We want to know about anything that happens like this. And so you're always welcome here to give comment about anything that you see as being a problem for biking and pedestrians. And so that's the first thing, is you're doing it exactly right. We want the public to come and comment. So don't worry. Just because it's new doesn't mean you aren't doing it right. And so I would be interested in a couple of things. Ben, do you think you could pull up those streets? I'm not as familiar with the West Side, but it would be interesting to see where we're talking about, and then also to hear from you if you are aware of the circumstances of the child crossing.
Yeah. So yeah, if you zoom in, it's actually that, if you can see, it's that crosswalk where there's basically right in the middle of the screen, there's that path that cuts through the school. So I guess on viewers left, yeah, that one. And again, I know because that's the crosswalk I use every morning to cross back over to get to where I live. And so what happened yesterday was my partner and I were driving towards Scott. We were in the right-hand lane, so I guess we were eastbound. And it was 5 o'clock. It was pretty much right 5 o'clock on the nose. And there were, kids around on bikes and scooters and walking. And we went through the crosswalk and basically stopped right kind of before or like in that second one. So the eastern one, because we heard like a loud thud, and a car who had just passed us struck a child on their scooter, who had come into the crosswalk. So we didn't see it happen, but we heard it. And then we were basically one of the first people like there to get out of their cars, along with the driver and the car behind us. And it was a child, and then a friend of that child had been in, I guess, trying to cross the crosswalk.
Okay, well, I mean, that helps us because now we know that it was in a crosswalk that has piano key paint. Ben, do you know if this is a school zone? Does it have?
It doesn't have a reduced speed limit, but it does have, bulb outs on this side and the parking preventer on this side to help reduce crossing distance and make it more visible. That's just a bad situation.
Yeah, it's tough because it is sort of, it's like kind of like a T intersection almost, right? Because the West Side Park starts right there next to the school. And I know that there's been a lot of great development and investment happening in that park, which is amazing. But just sort of the combination of wanting to attract families and younger kids to that area, while knowing that at the same time, more and more people are cutting through on Phillips, and the traffic, especially around rush hour, can get pretty it can get pretty congested there too. Is just sort of like it's a tough combination, and it's a dangerous one for sure.
Yeah, you can see here, even in Street View, traffic is backed up into the intersection.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if I had a magic wand, I would put a roundabout at Phillips and Scott. I think it would be great to just sort of help keep traffic flowing. Because I think maybe what had happened is this kid maybe tried to cut in between cars that were stopped at the crosswalk and didn't see oncoming traffic, just because of how kind of short that is. Once you turn off of Scott onto Phillips, you're kind of right away into like the school zone, and there are some like pretty intense neon signs up around there. But I just think so many people, end of the day, heading home, whatever, just kind of don't see it.
Yeah, it seems like a space that, because of the way it's being used, needs to have a school zone
Yeah.
with enforcement of that school zone, just like on Russell Street and the busier streets on Higgins. And
Yep. Carrie, I really appreciate you bringing this to our attention. I hadn't heard about this yet, and I already have shot off an email to our admin who manages our transportation safety team. We have bi-weekly meetings, and so I've added this to our next agenda to talk about the details of this crash and look at previous crash histories and what else might be going on in the area. You have some great observations about what you're seeing, especially related to times of day and increasing uses of the area. And we'll discuss that stuff and see if there's any short, medium, or long-term solutions we can recommend and get implemented. My email address, Carrie, is Weiss. Do you have a way to write it down?
I do, yes. Go ahead.
Okay, it's Weiss, Weiss, B as in Ben, at ci.missoula.mt.us. If you could shoot me an email, I can get back to you and let you know what gets discussed at that meeting.
That would be great. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. I really appreciate it. Thank you for giving me time to speak and talk about this and looking into it. And I really appreciate it.
thank you for coming and letting us know. We really appreciate you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Carrie.
Okay. Well, I'm glad she came to our meeting.
I'm not glad for the reason, but it is good to hear from people.
Yeah, I'm not glad for the reason either, but it's good, better to know. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the general board member comments. And so now I'm going to check to see if anyone has their hands up. So if you have your hand up, Gene has his hand up. Go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, hi. And this kind of dovetails almost a little bit with the woman who spoke about the child that was hit. I was out doing errands today. I was downtown, and I used a street I seldom use. I was headed from the post office down to Albertsons on Broadway, and rather than go down Broadway, I went over to Front Street and took Front East, and then I hit, of course, Madison. So I wasn't able to go under the bridge. I was at the street crossing, and I was on the south side of Front, and so there's a curb cut there, but there's no marked crosswalk. So I just stopped my bike and waited and watched traffic. It was medium busy, and I figured it could be a long time, and I was expecting to have to wait until everybody left. The street was totally clear, but there was a vehicle that stopped in the right-hand lane, the one closest to the curb. But I was able, because of my vantage point, I was able to see that in the second lane, there was going to be another vehicle that was going to be coming alongside that first vehicle that had stopped. So I was aware of that. But I pulled out anyhow in front of the stopped vehicle, and then just got my nose out a little bit past there, and I sort of intentionally startled the car that was going to go zooming by the first one, and he jammed on his brakes, and I shook my finger at him, and then checked the northbound traffic, and there wasn't any, so I continued across. So this is the old reliable deadly second lane trick, which is the things that we try to get rid of, or we did get rid of, really, hopefully, on 5th and 6th west of Higgins. So the reason I brought it up is I don't know, again, if we can have any, I know the police department is short-staffed, et cetera, but I think there could be a couple spots, and this would be one of them, because I think it might be fairly busy, people getting over to the shopping center that are in that area, students, et cetera, from the housing there, and people at the library, et cetera, making journeys across that, to have some type of an operation where, you know, we could have a police car out there, and then when we see people not stopping, you know, kind of give them a warning ticket or a ticket. It's a really dangerous thing, and it made me think of the people that, you know, just assume that nobody else is coming and they go out in front of that car.
Gene, am I in the correct location here? You said at Front and Madison?
Yes, you are. I'm at the what would be the southwest corner there.
The
Where the-
southwest.
Yeah, you can see the little stop bar on the northbound traffic, but there's no actual cross. There you go. There's no actual crosswalk mark there.
Yeah, how do you get across these two medians?
Well, where you see the car turning there, where the Madison is across it, that's actually where the curb. Oh, wait a minute, you got to back up a little bit. Right there. There's it. That's an old picture. There's no curb cut there.
That's not what it looks like today, huh?
No, apparently not.
Yeah,
Anyhow,
they brought the improvements back when they did the bridge a couple years ago.
yeah, I think that divider is gone. I was able to cross directly over and then make a little bit of a zig and get onto Front Street, East Front. So anyhow, that's where it is. I mean, technically, I should have, ordinarily I would have said, oh, I'll go over to where the actual crosswalk marking is. The island that's on the north side of Front is still there, and so the crosswalk is well marked. And I don't know if being there would have done any better job of stopping that second car or not. You never know. But I know that's sort of a habit that people get into. It's a bad habit. People driving that they see a car stopped in the right lane and they don't think anything of it and they go right past, and they shouldn't.
Well, thanks, Gene. I think that intersection we've talked about before, it is a problematic one because people are going so fast as they come down off the bridge and as they get released from the light on Broadway. And just personally, even like crossing in the crosswalk is scary there. Yeah,
they like to, once they make that turn off of Broadway, they like to just go zipping across the bridge. They probably speed a little bit too, a lot of times. Anyhow, I just want to bring it up and see if we have any type of things where we get together with the police department like we used to, 2-3 times a year and say, it'd be great, summer season coming up. Some of these little hot spots for pedestrian crossings, get a sting operation, whatever you want to call it, some extra surveillance out there. I'm pretty sure it happens a fair amount.
I've added it to the list, Gene, and we'll certainly let PD know that this could be a good pedestrian enforcement location. Another thing to keep in mind with this intersection is that the Missoula Redevelopment Agency is right now, they've hired a consultant to actually do the engineering on the front main conversion. And so this intersection is a big part of that and will be redesigned to help Front Street have two-way traffic. The current kind of design concept is a full signal at this intersection with, better crossings in all directions.
Awesome. Well, that's good news. Okay, James has his hand up.
I just wanted to speak briefly on the low traffic accident.
Okay.
Low excuse me, Lowell families were, we have a son at Lowell, and Lowell families were immediately notified after the accident. And it's a pretty terrifying prospect, or just a horrible incident that occurred. And every parent's probably worst nightmare or close to. And I have a friend who lives down Shakespeare, and he has a young child also who attends Lowell in my son's grade. And he has mentioned to me before that trying to navigate the neighborhood, children trying to sustainably commute to school is a very big concern. Just kind of all of those areas in between Lowell, out towards Shakespeare. I'm not sure if the traffic issues are so challenging down Hawthorne, but certainly the intersection seemed dangerous, and all of that, all of Phillips Street seems like really high speed for the type of neighborhood circumstances that are around there. So any tools that could be used, I think, to improve the safe commutes for children in that neighborhood could be really important to prioritize.
The history of the traffic calming on this is that the bulb outs right by the school were paid for with a Safe Routes to School grant, and then the neighborhood chipped in to do the rest of these further down the road, these kind of chicanes and bulb outs that they have. And they certainly reduced speeds, these center islands and parking preventers. They reduced speeds when they first got put in, but I think that they've since gone back up.
With the,
Is there an option for us to put for the like portable mobile speed humps that we talked about in one of the prior meetings? And then the second question is, didn't the West Side obtain, like, weren't they one of the people chosen to get redevelopment, improved enhanced sidewalks? And
Yep, they got full sidewalk constructed to get to school all the way down Cowper to Sherwood. And then, so all the sidewalks are completed for this route here. Phillips has sidewalks the entire length of the way already. That was done through a CDBG grant, Community Development Block Grant, a couple of years ago. Shakespeare is a difficult one because the bus barn is at the top of it. And so you get all of the buses that deadhead and leave the shop going up and down Shakespeare. Mountain Line is currently, kind of studying what their facility needs are going to be in the future with an eye to moving, but that won't be immediate. But that will certainly reduce the kind of type and volume of traffic that exists on Shakespeare right now. I live down in this area, and my walks to school are pretty uneventful, fortunately, but I don't have to deal with Phillips. And so yeah, I think that certainly as the north side and west side see more infill development, Phillips has become the kind of major collector through there, and we may need to revisit what happens, what that street looks like.
thank you for the comments, James. It's always nice to hear about people who live nearby and have children at the school. I think that's important. All right. I'm looking to see, does anyone else have any follow-up comments before we move on? Looks like that's no. So the next item of business is comments from city staff. So take it away, Ben.
Yeah, I guess I'll try and keep my comments brief. We've just been working on finalizing the neighborhood traffic management program, getting the kind of research paper that Madison presented on, getting that wrapped up and completed, and getting approvals from all of the necessary agencies for the types of improvements that we want to pursue, and then working with Lori Hart in Public Works. She's the kind of communications officer for Public Works. And then Colin Woodrow in the Office of Neighborhoods to plan our kind of rollout to the public about the neighborhood traffic management program. And we'll likely see that happen sooner than later. We're have a meeting tomorrow to kind of finalize some of that stuff and get approval for the first couple projects that we want to implement this year. And so we'll hopefully within the next couple weeks be working with the Franklin and the Fort neighborhood on what our proposals are for their neighborhood right away, in the short term. And then we're still compiling a list of locations that we receive requests for, complaints about, and are starting to organize the data collection that we need to do to kind of score and rank the projects and determine ways that we can help improve safety for everyone through that. And so that has been a long project. Madison's internship is coming to an end, but it's going to culminate with kind of a final presentation to council in the next couple weeks. Currently, we're tentatively on the schedule for next Wednesday at the Public Works Committee meeting. And so maybe keep an eye out for that if you have an interest in attending that and just kind of learning a little bit more about what we're planning there. But you guys have helped and seen our presentations along the way and how we're thinking of this. And it's, again, this project grew from council asking us to look at speed limit reductions and how we might be able to do them in a more uniform or blanket fashion. And it's turned into a kind of revamping of our traffic calming program to be more responsive and more equitable. And so we're really proud of this and really looking forward to the rollout, even if it means a little bit more work for us. And it took longer than just that initial research, but it's, I think, going to change the way that we do things in the city and going to be a real benefit to a lot of people.
Sounds great, especially apropos our first discussion. So
yeah. The other thing that I've been working on is the third Myrtle intersection. I've been leaving Jessica out of it just because I assumed that she was being pretty busy. But Jessica, if you want, I can share with you some of the recent emails and discussion items. But basically that project is still on schedule. Our streets division and our water division have when I told them about the project and said, hey, is there anything that you might want to do so that you don't come back and disturb any of the work that we are going to put in. They're extending the water's extending the main line out of the area. Streets is cleaning and moving the sumps in the area and repairing the asphalt. So the canvas that we put down is going to be, the canvas that we have to work with is going to be really good and shouldn't be touched for a long time. We've been meeting with the neighbors and the Public Arts Committee to do a call for public art to actually design what's going to be on the pavement markings, and are just kind of working through what the specs are. The prices of the materials have gone through the roof, both due to COVID and kind of the cost of building materials going up in general, but also the flooding in Texas. I guess a lot of the pigments for dyeing pavement markings are manufactured down there, and it's disrupted their ability to do that. And so we're not able to put as much colored area into the intersection as we had initially thought, just based on funding. And so kind of the final step is working with the property owners over what areas get the fancy markings, and then going out for a public art call to get someone to design that. But we look to have that project implemented by June 30th still, which is coming up quick, but yeah, it's going to be a real neat plaza when that happens. Speaking of plazas, I imagine most people have seen that Higgins 3rd Street intersection is fully torn up and under construction. That is going to be, if you're not familiar with the designs, you should be able to find them on MDT's website related to Higgins, but that is that intersection is going to be reconstructed to create a large plaza area by the corner in the southwest corner, kind of by Bathing Beauty's Bead Store and Betty's Divine. There's going to be a big public kind of seating area there now. And the intersection itself is going to be narrowed and squared up to 3rd Street much better. And it's, yeah, the bridge project is moving. They still anticipate the west side of the bridge being opened up in June. And that will include the shared bike ped facility on that west side. So, and then they'll move over to the east side with substantial completion of the entire bridge done by the winter, is my understanding, with kind of the final details done next spring.
And what about the study on Higgins?
That we selected a consultant. We're still in kind of contract negotiations with them, and we expect that to be wrapped up in a week or so. And we'll likely have a kickoff meeting sometime in May. I don't know if we'll be in a position to be at the May Bike Ped Advisory Board, but certainly by the June one, we will kind of have presentation and on how that study is going to look. And we had 8 applicants, 8 proposals from national and local firms for that. All of them saying that this, that Higgins has the potential to not just be the center, a kind of a premier street in Missoula and the backbone of our downtown, but really kind of a model street for the Western US and the ways that we do things. And so that, it's flattery, but it's also it seems like it's true that people were kind of coming from far and wide to put in for that. And so we know it's going to be challenging. There's a lot of competing interests and a lot of moving parts, but it's going to be I think a really good project to, a fun planning project to see what comes out of that and how all of those parts fit together and what we can do to make it a truly multimodal corridor.
And this is just north of the bridge, or is this include Hipster?
No, it's Broadway to Brooks.
Oh, okay.
Yep, not including the bridge because that's being constructed right now. But
Well,
yeah, basically Broadway to Front Street, and then 3rd to Brooks, inclusive of the 2 intersections. So we're really looking at the 2 kind of terminus intersections. So looking at parking, looking at economic impacts and benefits, looking at multimodalism, looking at safety, kind of all of the pieces, development potential. It's transportation money that is primarily funding it, so we can't look too closely at land use, but it certainly is a part of the puzzle when you're talking about something so central to the core of the city. And then finally, I don't know if anyone has had an opportunity to bike or walk or drive down 5th and 6th Streets in the past couple of days, but the pavement markings, the permanent pavement markings are in place. The full epoxy, it's bright white on a deep, fresh black asphalt. It looks really good. We haven't heard many comments, but the ones we've heard have all been really positive. People talking about, neighbors talking about their increased parking width, families able to bike more comfortably on it. Drivers telling us that they appreciate the extra turn lanes at the signalized intersections and the ability to get through the intersections faster. It really seems like this was a well thought out, well executed project. It took a little longer than we hoped, but this one is a major win for the Bike Ped Board. I don't know if Britt might have been here when this was originally floated, but really the 5th, 6th project came from Bike Ped Board members who were riverfront neighbors. Wes Delano, Caleb Casper were 2 in particular that were really strongly behind this and helped generate a lot of support for this. And so I know that process within the city is slow and that a lot of what you do is review things that the city is already working on, but 5th, 6th Street is a project that was initiated by the Bike Ped Board that the city kind of tried to pawn off. My line is that sure, it sounds good, but it's probably not even on my top 20 list of things that I would do. And then when we started to look into it and study it, when you know, council, when enough people got council's attention that they put money to it and said, yes, you will pay attention to this, it really emerged as a necessary and worthwhile project, and it's really played out that way. So thank you, Mike Pedboard, for pushing things like that. Again, I know that Britt was probably the only person here, but it shows that even if the duration of these projects outlast your term here, that the work you do is valuable and has real impact to the city. Gene, did I see you had a hand up?
Oh, yeah, I did. It was just a little thing. I did see one thing, and I was actually driving my car at the time. At Higgins in Fifth, heading west, there's a left turn only lane there. And so there's just 2 lanes in the bike lane, left turn only lane, and then a lane that goes through straight. Now the lane that's going through straight is to the right. So you actually have to make a little swerve to get over into the traffic lane once you've gone west of Higgins on Fifth. And for some reason, every once in a while, people in the left turn lane think that it's a left turn straight option lane, and they go through there. So you can have 2 cars headed for the same spot at the same time. So I don't think it happens very often, but it did happen to me once, where I essentially got cut off by a car on my left that shouldn't have been there. So I don't know if there's any way to set up any cameras or anything up there digitally to find out if it ever happens to any significant degree or not. Or, you know, again, it might have been that the pavement markings were kind of worn down or whatever, or somebody new to the area, who knows. So that's just a little thing.
Yeah, MDT was concerned about that too, and so we've put 3 additional signs on the approach there on the left side, telling you it's left turn only. We've added additional left arrow only pavement markings. We don't have the word only. Maybe we need to consider that. And we're also going to come through the one piece that the striping crew wasn't able to do because the road jurisdiction changes. It becomes Highway 12 at Higgins. So they couldn't technically put in the turkey tracks, they're called, you know, the dashed line through the intersection to guide people. And so I heard that the city crew is going to try and find a time early morning when volumes are low to go out and try and stripe that just to provide some extra guidance there.
Thanks,
Yeah, we
Gene.
certainly see that potential. I haven't seen it happen personally, and so I don't know how big an issue it is, but you clearly have. And it's, like I said, MBT was worried about it enough to add some extra signs and markings to the east of that intersection. And so, yeah, the question just becomes, how do we get that striping done in that intersection without it just being tracked up right immediately? So we'll probably wait till warmer weather so it'll dry quick, and then do it at before 6 in the morning or something.
All right, Ben, anything else?
No, that's about it.
Okay. Let's see. On the agenda, the next thing are committee reports, but we have done away with committees, so we're going to skip that and we'll try to take it off the agenda for next time. The next one is old business. And so the 2021 draft public works project list recommendations, if you can click on the attachment, that's just, we talked about it last time and the prior time. It's sort of the summary of our recommendations to council. And we need to make a motion to approve those recommendations. And then I guess from Ben, I just need guidance. Is it Heidi that I email this to get it to council?
Well, if you notice, I changed the heading. I don't think it goes to council. I think it goes to staff. And so I changed the addressees to me and Kevin Slovarp and Aaron Wilson and Brian Hensel and Jeremy Keene and Chad Pancake, who are all of the people that kind of make the decisions about what happens on those streets.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I just thought that once we had an advisory opinion, that it went to the city council. But
It doesn't have to, and council doesn't weigh in on maintenance decisions, and so it's not.
gotcha. Okay. All right. I
doesn't
understand.
Really, it doesn't accomplish much, I don't think, going to them.
Gotcha. Okay. So in that case, if you've had time to review it, there should be nothing new on here. Last time we met, we discussed how Mount has been removed because are in the future going to be water main work. And so we took that out, and then we added the 3rd Street between Orange and Russell because the Missoula International School building is nearing completion or is completed, and the children are going to be bike commuting, and we decided to recommend bike lanes be added to the street. So you'll see that at the top, and the Mount Street is gone. And then the other ones we've all discussed, a couple up the Rattlesnake, west of Reserve Street around CS Porter, and then the High Parkway, which goes into the South Hills. And so basically, my understanding is that we just need to make a motion to approve those, that advisory opinion. And then, so I'm looking for a motion from the board.
I have a comment, Jesse, and I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sure.
I'm sorry to do this to you, but there
No,
is
no.
one that I would like to add. We talked about it briefly, and I mentioned that it was one that we would like to, that we are, plan on moving forward with, but it would be great to be reinforced by the bike ped board, which is the Spruce Street bike lanes, which we're planning on striping following chip seal there.
I do remember that. Yeah, I forgot to add it, but yes. Yep.
And so again, I can certainly draft up language for that that fits with the rest of it and add that to the letter before it gets sent. But that is a edit that I would, an amendment a friendly amendment I would like to suggest when you get a motion for this.
Great. Okay. So who would like to make a motion to approve our public works recommendations? If you could raise your hand. That would be great. James, I see your hand. James is making a motion. Jessica Doherty Goodburn is seconded. All those in favor of approving the public works list? Aye.
Aye.
All right, so lots of raised hands. I think we've got an approval of that motion with the amendment that Ben would like to make to the Spruce Street for adding bike lanes. I just completely forgot about that. All right, the next order of business is our very exciting and fun bike month planning and coordination. Here in attendance today is Catherine from Missoula in Motion. She has been awesome in helping me get this bike month plan up and running. And so we've been working really hard to get the bike month calendar out and to make a poster to promote bike month. And so April is supposed to be the promotional phase of our bike month in May. Catherine, do you want to start, or do you want me to tell them sort of where we are and then you jump in?
Yeah, I think you've really done all the work. I have just given you a few pointers, so I think you get all the credit for planning bike month. Yeah, so if you want to just jump in and I can chime in when needed, but yeah, you've really done the bulk of organizing everything, so you've got a really good grasp on it.
All right, so basically bike month, one of the things I would like the board to know is that Missoula is one of 20 gold medal bike friendly cities in the United States. We have been a gold medal bike city for 9 years. The only other level higher than that is platinum, of which there are 5 cities in the United States, and we missed it by a whiff, according to the Missoula Biking Club folks. And I'm not sure exactly why we didn't get it, but they said we were super close. The University of Montana is recognized as a bike-friendly university because it has protected campus with cars on the outside. So just so you know that this is a special place for biking, which is why you guys are on this committee and why you live here, I think, anyway. So basically what I did was contacted a bunch of our community allies. The mayor of Missoula has agreed to proclaim May as Bike Month. And that proclamation will be announced at the May City Council meeting, and he will read it. And I've sent him that paperwork. I contacted all of the schools. Many of you have children and know that the PTAs and PTOs at schools around the city provide a huge amount of Bike Month support. And so one of the most exciting examples I could give you is that Rattlesnakes parent teacher organization has Sean Ridley, who organizes the Marshall Mountain Friday Night Mountain Bike League. That's going to be running all through May, but to honor his dad, he created the Ranger Tom Bike Commute Challenge for the students at Rattlesnake Elementary through his business, which is set up perfectly to run something like that. So they're having a challenge so that if they bike to school more than 15 times in the month, they get prizes and they track it and get to report it. And it's all very exciting. So part of what I wanted to do was make sure that the schools are involved. So I've contacted all of the schools in Missoula and all the libraries and the University of Montana, Arboretum folks and the library folks there, as well as the Missoula Historical Preservation Society and the hospital helmets. So if you look at our calendar, we have sort of a pattern through the whole month. You have Tuesday night Dirt Girls. You have Wednesday night Alphas. I'll add the Thursday night Riders because they put their stuff on the community calendar, and I didn't know that they were that official. I thought it was more casual, but that's happening. And then Friday is our bike celebration station. So we have a bunch of businesses, Bernice's Le Petite and Great Harvest, doing either free stuff or promotions during that day. And then in addition, nonprofits, Trees for Missoula, Climate Smart Missoula, and then bike on off practice on the bus one day. And then most of the rides through the month are self-guided. I thought that fit with the COVID. And so the first month of May, historically, there's a lot of blooms at the University of Montana's trees. So we have Bike the Blooms. It's also Mother's Day. The second week, May 15th and 16th, the City Cemetery of Missoula has created their own self-guided tour where you bike the road through the cemetery and stop at different stations and you read about historical figures. They're very excited. Can't wait to launch that with us. The Hidden Missoula, I think it's called, is doing Pedal Through the Pass, which is the only fee tour. And that has our online registration and is mid-month. And then the third week of the month, we transition to doing a bike to see art and trees, which Ben Weiss had given me the route for another self-guided tour, and Jean's awesome inaugural poker ride to raise money for the Missoula Food Bank, which he's organized and starts and stops at Free Cycles. And I think that's a good kind of overview of the month. I did ask the neighborhood councils to host a slow roll or self-guided greenway tour. We'll see if any of your local neighborhood councils do so. Trying to think, Free Cycles may be open. The Bicycle Film Festival, virtual or otherwise, did not happen. I asked the Roxy to put a sign on their marquee and didn't hear back. I asked every local bike shop to sponsor the virtual film festival or to provide sponsorship of something to do with Bike Month, and I haven't got no response. REI was probably the most enthusiastic response, but they've had a bad year, and so they couldn't sponsor anything this year, but talk to them again. Let's see. Getting there. Oh, Jean's also doing a bicycle safety webinar. Thank you, Jean. We didn't make any headway on bike art shows in the community, so maybe for next time, but Jean has a bicycle poetry contest that he's working on that seems to be going well. basically what we need to talk about today, I think, is promotion. So yesterday we finalized the posters for Bike Month. They've been sent to the printers. I printed Bike Friendly Business, or I had printed Bike Friendly Business window clings so that we can thank people who've supported Bike Month in this community. But really, once the posters come back at the end of next week, it'll just be like boots on the ground. So if you think, hey, I'm going to my kid's school anyway, and I could take a couple of posters there or something like that, I would appreciate the help, because I do think that that's going to be a challenge to get them all distributed through the community and schools. I do want to try to put them up in every school that will accept them. So as far as board members' support goes, promoting it and helping us get the posters out would be super helpful. I think through this process, what I've realized is that most people in this town don't know how special, even compared to all the cities in the United States, Missoula is. And I do think that it's slightly problematic, because I know that I love cycling here, but I was just learning the whole time about how bike friendly our city is. I went to Bozeman for my son to play tennis last weekend. You drive into Bozeman, it says, "Welcome to Bozeman, bike friendly city." And so I think we used to have that on the exit when you were coming in, by Rattlesnake Drive. And with the construction and the redo of that exit, I don't know what happened to it, but it's gone. And so I do think that it's important for us to think about showcasing the fact that this is a bicycle friendly city and that we're unique in the whole United States. And additionally, thinking about what kind of budgetary inclusion for Bike Month we could get, because we're missing a lot of pieces and parts to be able to promote this. For example, the flags that are downtown, we can't afford to do those. We can't afford radio ads. We can't afford to advertise on buses. These are all really important pieces to what makes our town unique and is culturally, I think, really important to us. And so thinking about how do we get budgetary inclusion for a Bike Month celebration in the absence of strong sponsorship? So I think the segue to that is thinking about requesting, and when this is all over, a review of what type of bike and pedestrian staff support do other gold level bike friendly cities across the United States have? And what should the Bike Pedestrian Board advocate for? So if we are one of 20 cities in the United States that operates at this level of being bike friendly, what does that mean that our city is supporting staff in a bike pedestrian office compared to other cities? And we would like to be a platinum city, which there's only 5 of. And how many bike pedestrian city folks are there in those places? And should the Bike Pedestrian Board advocate for that? So what I've seen is we have an amazing Bike Month plan because we have amazing groups who love cycling in Missoula, but we don't have a lot of structural support for Bike Month. And I think that that's really what I struggled with throughout this time. So we have a lot of great ideas. We need about $3,000 as a line item in the city budget for Bike Month, so that we can get our flags printed, so we can advertise it appropriately. People would come here just for the activities, and maybe they already do, but it's difficult if you can't promote the event. So, all right, Catherine, that was my lead in.
Yeah, and I know it's the budget restraints are certainly frustrating. I think maybe too, like next year, I think we just need a little bit of a more, I guess, time to look at this and I guess plan. I think there might be some flexibility that we can look at our budget too for next year, because a lot of things, these ideas kind of came up pretty last minute too, so we just hadn't carved that out. But yeah, we really want to support Bike Month and provide additional funding. to make that happen if possible. But yeah, so one thing that we are kind of helping out with is just the promotion and getting the word out about it. So we at Missoula Motion have a pretty big community of people that follow us and that read our newsletter and that follow us on social media. So that's a great target audience for Bike Month. So we kind of had bounced around a couple of ideas of the best way to have of where kind of the landing page would be and where the information for Bike Month would live that we drive traffic to. And we landed on doing it on the Missoula in Motion website. So it'll be missoulainmotion.com/bike month. And from there, we will have ideally, I think we're going to have the Google Calendar embedded on that page. Stacy's working on it now, I think, to see if that will work. So we should be able to see all of the events there. You can also link to the Google Calendar if you want to. I think, well, I will talk about that, Jesse, if we want to also have it linked to where you can incorporate the calendar into your personal calendar. And then, yeah, and so we'll be putting most of the information on there and then also using the Bike Month Missoula Facebook page that we created last year, that we did a lot to get followers with when we were working with Jessica and James. And so we'll be posting all the events on there. It sounded like James is going to kind of take the lead on that. And I know Stacey's been working with James. And then we'll also be using our Instagram. One thought that we had is to do some Instagram takeovers. So I know Jessica did that last year and it was really great just to kind of profile and highlight some different diverse group of people and their experiences biking throughout Missoula and just seeing it through their lens for a day. So we have a few folks lined up of people that will just be kind of sharing stories and posting their photos for a day in May. But if you guys have other suggestions of people that might be good people to profile for that, just shoot us an email. We'd love to reach out to them. Or if you are interested, let us know because we'd love to highlight you. Yeah, so that's kind of our recap. Another couple of things we're doing with Missoula in Motion is we're going to do some promotion around Bike to Work Day and encourage people to log their trip with Way to Go and have some sort of incentive on that day. We've been trying to get a donation for like a free coffee somewhere, but we haven't quite firmed that up yet. And then also a couple of clinics, short clinics over the lunch break at the Fix-It stations, the bike repair stations around town. We're working with Free Cycles on that. So we'll do one at the transfer center station and try and really target just downtown employees. This is kind of right between the city hall and the county building. So it seems like a good spot to get people to come out on their lunch hour and maybe bring their bikes and be able to work on their bikes right there. And then also one over at the hospital. So they just got a new Fix-It station. They're excited about it and want their staff to feel confident to actually use it. So we thought Bike Month was a good time to do that. So that's kind of the recaps I have on our end. I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm missing. Oh, one thing that we were working on today is Jesse is working on a press release. So that's another way that we can help get the word out. And so we're hoping to just have it sent through the city's kind of communication channels to media to see if we can get some coverage. We've noticed that the news stations seem like they're really in need of new local things happening with COVID, with not a lot of events happening around town. Every time we put anything out, it gets picked up and we've had a news story on it. So I think that will still be the case in May. So I think a press release could definitely get some really great coverage and attention. So yeah, that'll, rather than be from Missoula in Motion, I think we'll have it be from the Bike Ped Board. So as long as that everyone's on board with that and we can, Jesse can run it by you once we've got it finalized. But yeah, just kind of having that come from the Bike Ped Board to promote all the events happening.
I just want to say how awesome you guys are at Missoula in Motion.
Thanks, Jesse. That's so nice of you. We are
Thank
really
you
excited
so much.
that-
You saved me so many times in making the calendar and the poster. I felt like I was just taking all of your time.
No, you guys are volunteers, so we're just doing this as our job. So we're really excited to have such a competent and hardworking group of people that are putting this together, because it's great, and the community needs Bike Month, and we don't have the capacity to do it. So we are really grateful that you're willing to take it on. So
It's gonna be so fun, you guys. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know. Can you show them the poster?
yeah, if
Are
you
you
give me a
able-
minute, I can
Are you
share
able to do that?
links.
It's turned out
Yeah, shouldn't you
so nice, and
Mhm.
the web link turned out so nice. While she's getting that, a couple people have their hands up. I see Ben's hands up.
Why don't you go to Gene first?
Jean, go ahead.
I saw Kip had his up before too.
Okay. You're muted, Jean.
Sorry.
That's okay.
In terms of the promotion, I've had the capacity and privilege of getting a monthly column in the Missoulian.
Woo!
Yeah, so
Great.
I've given a shout out to Missoula Motion in the past. I've given a shout out to Free Cycles. So I'm going to be doing a shout out, and my column comes the last Wednesday of the month. So it's going to be my column for this month will be right before Bike Month starts. So I'm going to be giving
Perfect.
a shout out for Bike Month and the different activities. I'll try to fit in as much as I can. I'll probably be talking, Jess, with you and with Stacy, and try to see what I can fit in with my 600 word limit. So there's that.
Thank you, Jean. I really appreciate that.
And I appreciate just what you said about the need for structural support and some kind of funding. I think the banners are a great thing to have happen. I don't know if we could almost do a GoFundMe page or something for that. I'm assuming once the banners are there, that Public Works puts them up at the appropriate time, like they do for the Roots Festival and stuff like that.
You just have to pay labor. So the main cost is up front to have them printed, and then you have to pay people to put the flags up, and where they're located along Higgins, the price varies because of the difficulty in putting them up. And so you would have a big upfront cost for printing the flags on the first year, but then you would have a small ongoing cost to have them put up and taken down.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't come out of the city budget. Okay. Good to know.
It's actually run by the Missoula Downtown Association. So, yeah.
There was something else, but I just lost track of it. If I come up with it later, I'll put my hand up again.
Okay. Kip, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say I'd be happy to put flyers all around the university and Missoula College if that would be helpful.
Oh, there it is. Look how amazing it is.
Yeah,
like,
Jesse did a great job of designing it, and Stacy.
I love the bears.
Stacy zhuzhed it up though, man. I mean, I had like the bare bones, and then she sent it back to me, and I was like, it's just way better after the actual real designer did it. Anyway, I think it turned out pretty snazzy.
And yeah, we also didn't mention, but this QR code we're excited about too. So that will take you to the MIM page, to our website page is what we landed on, I think. Is that right, Jesse?
Yes, correct. Okay. Could you pull that up too so they can see what the landing page looks like?
Yeah.
So this is the poster that's going to go all around town that we've sent to be printed, and will be here next week at the end of the week. And so, Kip, you got to tie into the university, which would be awesome. We'll have to think carefully about where to put them, because it's after, I know graduation happens in May. Are they doing the short May time period? I don't know.
As far as the semester?
Yeah, are they doing like the little short May semester after graduation?
There's various summer, schedules you can take, like a 3-week block or something, but I think that all classes are done at the end of April.
Gotcha. Okay. So this is the landing page that you see, and there's my dog Minky. I felt like they played a joke on me at Missoula Motion because they put my family on the web page, but this is Ironically, half of my family that I've sent the link to, they don't even notice that it's me and my husband and our tiny little dog in the basket. I'm in the back, but that's my husband in the front. And
Did
my
you
little
mention that
dog.
to Stacy? I didn't even notice that. And I
You
wasn't
did?
at the photo shoot.
Oh my
No,
gosh, she
I just
totally
wanted-
got me. I thought she was just playing a trick on me. She's like,
I'll have
no,
to ask
I
her.
think it's cute and I'm gonna leave it on there. Anyway, so
And this doesn't have the calendar embedded yet, so this should have that soon.
okay.
Side note.
Anyway, I think it looks really good. So thank you guys very much. I feel like there's just a little bit of magic in the Missoula Motion office happening. Looks really nice. All right, so looks like Ben still got his hand up. Go ahead.
Thanks. I wanted to just talk a little bit more about bike-friendly community. I know that was part of where you were going with Bike Month, and
Yeah, because I learned a lot about it.
yeah, so the board has, in the past, the board has been really helpful in helping put together the bike-friendly community application, and we might have even lapsed. 2020 was the year that we were supposed to get it in again, and we didn't, although I think they're being pretty friendly, recognizing that 2020 was a difficult year. The last year that we had to apply was 2016. It's every 4-year certification that you get. The next deadline is August 5th, 2021, and so we will be putting together an application for that. I really think that we have a good shot at getting platinum this year, and we would be the smallest community in the country that that would be platinum. The ones that I know of are Madison, Portland, Fort Collins, Boulder. I don't know what the fifth might be. It's not Minneapolis, which is one that kind of gets thrown around a little bit. Kip, are you making a guess?
I thought it was Minneapolis, but no, I don't know.
Yeah, I just looked through, I clicked on Minnesota to see if it was Minneapolis, and it wasn't. Anyways, we were very close, but last time when we were applying, we didn't have the greenways identified on our bike maps or established through our any of our planning documents, and we did not have a bicycle facilities master plan. So now that we have both of those things in hand, on top of the other projects that we've done to actually expand our network and improve biking in general in Missoula, I think that we have a real good shot at becoming platinum this year. That being said, I've personally always been a little reluctant to get platinum because I think that there's a lot that we still have yet to do. Our network is disconnected. It's not suitable for people of all ages and all abilities. You highlighted that some of the major components of being a bike-friendly community are those that we don't currently have budget for, meaning the education and encouragement pieces. There are certainly ways that we could do better. Fort Collins, for example, their office is 3.5 people just in their bike office. Ours continues to be a one-person show. Now, granted, Fort Collins is about double Missoula's population, but they clearly have more than double the FTE working on that sort of thing. And so they're able to do things, part of what makes them a platinum community is that they have the bike-friendly driver program where they go out and do proactive education to fleets, to like commercial fleets around the city there. That's something that we've talked about, but just haven't been able to get up and running. We also don't have the population density to have league certified instructors trained and up to date here. We've talked about this for years, trying to get some of us to take the program, and we just, at a state level, we need 8 people to agree to sign up and be able to devote a weekend to it, and the $500 cost each, which we might be able to find sponsorship for, but we haven't been able to find weekend. Bike Walk Montana, the statewide advocacy organization, has tried to organize a few times over the years, getting people to take the class, and we just haven't been able to get 8 people to find the same weekend that they can do it. It's 4 hours on a Friday, 12 hours on a Saturday, and 6 hours on a Sunday or something to take the course to become a league certified instructor, which then lets you go out and teach other classes, teach their certified classes on bike safety. I've taken the Cycling 101 through the league. I've taken Cycling Savvy, but the Train the Trainer class, we just haven't been able to make that work. So anyways, all that's to say that even if we achieve platinum, there are still things that there's still major goals that we have in front of us, and it's something that this will continue to work on. But As we get ready to head into budget season, I think that your questions are really good ones, Jesse, about what role does this board want to take in recommending that the city kind of step up and devote more resources to the sorts of issues that we're trying to address here.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's super important to know, like, to formalize how the bike pedestrian office in cities that are considered bike friendly cities at our level or beyond, how are they staffed? Because part of our job is to provide advisory opinions to our elected officials. And that means that we say, we looked around the whole country and we are not providing enough infrastructure for what people in Missoula really value and what is a really important part of our culture. And we need, we recommend that you change that. And so I think we need to add it to our work plan. I mean, I think it needs to be presented because we can't issue an advisory opinion without more information, but I want that information. I want to know what the size is of those offices and how many people are there and what the level of the city's, certification is for bike friendliness, and then how big the city is. James's hand's up. Go ahead.
That seems like a worthy goal for the board to take and to have, is for there to be more recognition for the offices doing the kinds of work, because at least with larger scale transportation studies, the more money you put in the front of the project, it's just going to make the project work better, and projects will be completed faster. We can have a more connected network quicker if we give Missoulians what the system that they want to see in their city. I think we could do that more effectively.
Thanks. I think so too. I think part of our job is just to help us be the best biking city in the United States. I mean, you can't control how big our city is, but we can make our city, the best that it can possibly be for its size. Okay, so that'll be interesting. So if you need help with the bike friendly application, I think there are people on the board who will help. And then I think finding out about the staffing of other gold level cities or above is important, and we need to know what that's like. And also, I've lived here over a decade, and I never heard that we had a bike friendly university here. And if you search the internet, the University of Montana is singled out, but I don't feel like that the University of Montana, in my view at least, owns that they are a bike friendly university, and that's, recognized. And I don't really think that our city does either. And so I think both those things need to change. So
we certainly do have the signs at all the entryways. If the Van Buren one is missing, I might even have an extra to put up, but that's something that the league sends us when we get certified.
Oh, good. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I think they went away when the construction happened and they never got put back up. So that would be awesome if that could happen. And then, okay. Anything else, Catherine, or anyone else on bike month planning and coordination? Okay. Also, if we do get media attention, I feel like I have a face meant for print and a voice meant for print and a face meant for radio. I don't want to be on like K-Pax or something. So if anybody on the board would like to be the media person for once the press release goes out, I would really be happy for you to do that. So if anyone puts their hand up. Oh, Gene's got his hand up. Does that mean you do it, Gene?
Well, I've been a face before. I've gone on MCAT and talked about stuff.
Okay.
So Yeah, there's a lot of people on the board a lot prettier than me, but I get a haircut, maybe I'll be all right. I won't be I'm not as scruffy as Ben is yet, but I'm working on it.
Okay. Well,
Um,
anyway, I'll put you on my list. So if we get some
Sure.
attention, I'm going to be like, oh, Jean will be
And-
there.
And I wanted to, what Ben had brought up about the league instructors and all these other kind of things. I think if we can get somehow, Ben, I don't know, get an open call out and just kind of keep a list of people that are interested in doing it, and maybe people on the board talking to people that they know, people who bike a lot, people who are experienced. Again, especially if you can get some type of coverage for the fee out of a budget somewhere, even if it's a year and a half, whatever, down the road. I mean, I'd certainly be interested. So I wanted to mention that. The other thing is on the poker ride, I think my communications with the food bank is, I haven't had any in the last few days, but they're pretty sure they can provide volunteers to be handing out cards, the playing cards for the poker at different spots. If there's anybody on the board that wants to help do that and has some fun with that, that would be appreciated. So if anybody is interested in doing that, I think it's going to be on the 22nd. Is that right, Jesse?
That's it.
Saturday morning from 11 to 2. Just send me an email. Let me know if you're available that day. It's always going to be nice to have. And I know food bank said some of their people might only be able to do a short stint, like a couple hours. So again, if anybody's interested in, as it comes closer, I'm sure I'll have it, hopefully have every spot locked up for it, but it's a little bit concerning to me right now, but I think it's all going to work out. But any other volunteer stuff, be great. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jean, for doing that and the webinar and the poetry contest. I think it's really it's going to be a really fun, nice month. So, all right. Anyone else have any other comments before we move on? Okay. Looks like new business wise, we have the Bike Month proclamation recommendation. And so if you click on that attachment, it's basically the letter that I wrote to Mayor Ingen, asking him to officially proclaim Bike Month is in May. That was a recommendation of the American League of Bicyclists, is if you are a community celebrating Bike Month, that you ask your mayor or city council to do so. And so he enthusiastically agreed. And I wrote him back with the form for that. He's going to announce it at the May meeting. And so I think that'll be super, nice to have the mayor recognize this as a special event in our community. Ben, do you think we need to make a motion to approve that? I know it came up on this email conversation. No, yes, maybe. He might be taking a minute. Okay. Well, we'll circle back to the Bike Month proclamation. The next item on the agenda is a bike share discussion. And I wanted to front load it by telling you that I went into the new Marriott downtown because I cyber stalked them and saw the Marriotts all around the country and the world rent bicycles to their guests. And I went in to see the lobby and the manager was there. And I said, hey, I'm on the Missoula Bike Pedestrian Board. How would you feel about renting bicycles to people? And he said, oh, we do it all the time. Portland's Marriott and Denver's Marriott. There's absolutely 100% would love to support a bike share. And then he said, but actually we don't rent them because the maintenance and the problems are too much, but we're happy to financially support bike share. And so that was super exciting. And I got his card and I did a bunch of research on bike shares, and it seems like they're really falling out of favor. But what is not falling out of favor is what's called a public bike library. A public bike library, you pay a fee, usually very low, monthly fee, $10 to $20, and you have a bicycle from that public bike library that you use from your home. So that allows whoever is running the public bicycle library to offer kids bikes, adaptive bikes, lots of different types of bikes. It's a low investment for an individual because they're basically charged a monthly rental versus buying their own bicycle, and often includes theft insurance. The bikes come with lights, racks, locks. They have internal gear hubs and chain cases. You save a ton of money by using a public bike library because there's no docks, there's no kiosk, there's no rebalancing bicycles, meaning that if everyone rides their bicycles to Lolo, the trucks have to pick them up and bring them back into the city center, which is a huge cost that's incurred. And so I really like that idea. Often the cities, or in this case, if we have a hotel interested in supporting it, provide the capital to buy the bicycles, and then you have a third-party contractor. And I'm not sure if it's something that Free Cycles would be interested in, or outdoor store like Trailhead or something central to downtown. But I think it's a nice model. It's a model that's successful when bike shares with the kiosk and docks are not in favor right now. The other thing that's happening is that people are doing bike rentals through their public libraries. And so there are more than 20 public libraries in the United States right now that have bike rentals. They provide their bike share for free if you're a resident with a library card. I'm not sure how it would work if you were a visitor. But what I'm thinking about is for people who are coming to downtown to, stay in the Marriott or other hotels like the Holiday Inn. And often what happens in the public bike library is that the hotel says, I want to have 5 bikes in the lobby all the time from the bike library. And so they just have that many. And then everyone else would have to actually go to the facility to get their bicycle. So this is just a discussion about the Marriott is a new presence downtown. They're excited to be part of the community. They're willing to commit funding to help with something like that. And then what do people see as being like a good choice? Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, so it's really exciting that you reached out to them, that they're interested. I just wanted to provide a little bit of background for some of the newer board members. So we've researched bike share extensively here, and basically, you touched on some of the newer trends. We looked at it quite a few years ago, kind of when we wrote and I'll share it with the board, a research paper about kind of what the different options were right before dockless technology was emerging. And we just are not the right market for a docked system. We're just too small a community and the investment is too huge up front. We don't have any money for something like that. And the dockless systems, they were all interested in coming to Missoula in 2019, and council saw presentations from some of them and even got demonstrations, but they all wanted to bring scooters. And at the time, council was not interested. You singing? Council was not interested in scooters at the time, and the companies didn't want to come if they couldn't bring scooters. They have just recently, in the past week or two, several of those companies have now gotten back in touch with me saying, hey, we've updated our technology, we've updated our practices, we've updated the scooter itself. We'd love to sit down and talk to you and see if you're interested in some sort of shared mobility system. And so I have an inquiry into council to see if they're interested in entertaining the idea of shared mobility again and what that could mean. But the most recent direction that I got from them, back in 2019, was that they're really not interested right now. That being said, some of the other hotels do have their own fleets. The Holiday Inn downtown has a fleet of 8 bikes for their guests to use. And I believe there are some other hotels as well that do that. The city has a fleet of bikes that staff can use, and Free Cycles maintains those for us. It's especially the last year and a half of people being out of the office. They haven't gotten used all that much, but that sort of library idea is certainly on the table, and it's something the university has kicked around through ASUM Transportation, something that Catherine and I have talked about. And again, the kind of seed money, we haven't really identified where that would come from, or kind of where a central location where bikes would be housed in a central location. But it's something that we certainly would entertain, board's thoughts and conversation about this. And if there was a recommendation that came forward from the board, it would be something that I imagine council would think about. Because again, the working with some of those national companies was something that's ultimately a council decision, because it requires business licensing and permitting the right of way for use by a private business.
And those were for scooters, correct?
Well, yeah, but the companies didn't want to bring bikes if they couldn't bring scooters. They said, thanks, but no thanks. If you're not going to take scooters, then we're not going to bring bikes to your community, because they don't make money on the bikes.
I see.
And that might have changed now that e-bikes have gotten more prevalent and kind of easier to make and ride. So who knows? But again, I haven't sat down with the companies yet, because the latest direction from council was to not pursue it.
So what are your thoughts on the public library as a source for bicycle rental?
I want to, I guess, ask Catherine what she thinks, and she's worked closely with them on the development of their new building and kind of some of the other measures to keep them getting around town, getting to and from the library as sustainably as possible.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think they have put a lot of thought and have their space exactly created to meet their needs. I don't know, it might be difficult to accommodate just a fleet of bikes in that space. And just logistically, I mean, I think it's worth bringing up to them. My take is that currently they're pretty overwhelmed with figuring out opening up their current space, but maybe further down the line when things are up and running smoothly, we could propose that idea. Thinking about location too, like, well, yeah, I guess if it's just for people who live in Missoula, I think the library is a great location. And that's a place people would expect to go to check out a bike. I know when we look at when we've done research into bike share, it seems like the tourists are people who would really also benefit from that program. It seems like a lot of people, most people in Missoula that want a bike have a bike. Or can go to, free cycles really kind of fills that gap too. So, I think there should be maybe a little more research into if there would be a big audience, audience for that program. And maybe that is changed since they've last looked into it. But it seems like the bike share would really cater to students who are new to the area and just here for a few years, maybe more difficult to get a bike, or people in town visiting. I think it could really, I love the idea with working with hotels. So I think it's worth exploring, but I think we should get a little more information about how many people would use it and try and gather some information if there's a need for it.
Okay. James has his hand up.
When working the bike valet at the farmers market in recent years, we had multiple tourists and visitors with family members who live here in Missoula looking for bike rental at that site. And if you are looking for a location where a fleet of bicycles could be stored, perhaps when the Higgins Bridge overpass is completed, there could be a possibility of a fleet being kept there, maintained from that location. And then maybe someone like the Missoula Library could administer the administrative side of that, not so much the storage and caretaking of the bikes.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's a good observation to me. I mean, when we came here to interview, I would have loved to have rented a bike, but I couldn't find any place that had any bikes that were available and easy for me to access. We stayed at the DoubleTree. And at that time, it was just, we just didn't have any place to go. And it's still that way 12 years later, I feel like. Gene has his hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the bike library is an interesting idea. I'm not sure exactly how it works. I mean, I think of checking out a book and DVDs and all this kind of thing. You check it out and you have it for 2 weeks or whatever, and you bring it back. If that's the same kind of a thing as a bike, I think that would be nice. Like you said, you don't have to have somebody like the bike share coming out and relocating stuff. People just have it from their motel or home or wherever they're staying. The only question I would have is like, who's responsible if it gets stolen? And the other thing is, because especially during the season right now, is you're going to see in the paper, you're going to see about 8 to a dozen bikes stolen every week, and that actually might be something where somebody just had their bike stolen, that they'd want to get one from the library, especially if they need it for getting to work or something, while they try to get their bike recovered. And along that same line, Ben, maybe it's time to get the word out about people registering their bike, because there is a new improved system that we have going that we just got in about a year ago or so. So it can't hurt to get the word out about getting bikes registered out to the public every year. And that would be another good part about Bike Month. I'm probably too late to fit it into the proclamation, but I think trying to get the word out through Missoula in Motion, other avenues wouldn't hurt.
Thanks, Jean. Yeah, most of those public bike libraries have theft insurance when you sign up. So it can be a long-term rental. If you're a resident, it's a monthly fee. You keep the bike at your house, you do your normal stuff, you pay for the monthly fee. If you're a visitor, it's a daily fee. That's higher, much higher rate. And you're, a short-term type of system. But I do think that you helped me remember to circle back to the proclamation. Ben, do we need to make a motion to approve the proclamation from the mayor?
I don't think so. I mean, he's already said yes, he'll do it, and you and I are just going to figure out the details of it, Jesse.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to be sure. I was like, I don't know if that's all I have to do, or if I just email him, or what happens. So, okay, all right. We'll just circle back to thinking about the bike sharing or public bike libraries. I would love to also know anybody's thoughts on is the university's bike rental fleet just totally used, or are their bikes sitting around? Do they have, because our peak season for visitors is summer, and the university, that seems like not their peak season. So are their bikes just sitting around all summer?
No,
I mean, would they be interested in?
The summer is kind of their peak season for their fleet, because the international students that are there for the summer, that's kind of their main way to get around. And interestingly, the university transitioned their fleet to the library and saw their usage numbers plummet. That they thought it made sense because the library has all of the experience checking things in and out, and the 8 or 10 minutes that it would take to go into the library, wait in line, get them to issue all the stuff officially, they just saw those numbers dwindle, the usage numbers dwindle. And their fleet hasn't been maintained in a while. They're really kind of phasing out their rental fleet, is my understanding. But we should ask for, maybe at the next meeting, ask for Jordan or Danny to come and talk a little bit more about what they're offering.
Interesting.
Jordan,
What about, do you think somebody like Trailhead that's downtown would be interested?
Potentially, bike shops are worth approaching. Yeah, it's something that we've struggled. That initial report Catherine mentioned, the tourists being one market, students being another, the Another niche that bike share tries to fill is that kind of first mile, last mile transit piece. And we don't have the densities to support bike stations in the last mile section or the first mile, or however you put it, like out in the further reaches of the neighborhoods. And then kind of our downtown is so compact that taking up valuable curb space for stations just didn't seem to quite make sense. And we couldn't really identify who would use, we don't have the space concerns that like a DC or a New York has, where people want to own bikes but can't. And we don't have the huge transit ridership or transit system that would support that first mile, last mile. And tourism is certainly a big industry and a growing industry, but again, it's tough to say that it would support a bike share system. So it's certainly worth revisiting. That research is a little old at this point, but we struggled to identify what need would it really fill when we were looking at it was like about $1 million for a community our size. The upfront investment in a fleet and a docked system, like you see in New York, would be about $1 million with about a $400,000 annual operating expense. And obviously a dockless system or with newer technology can be done much cheaper than that, but it still requires some amount of either some organization needs to take on the management of that, and we haven't identified who that is and what that could look like. There is a small bike share company out of central Iowa that they call themselves mode agnostic. They provide kind of whatever mobility device you're looking for. They do scooters, but they also do bikes and e-bikes. And we were pretty interested. We had a call with them, and they just didn't. We just never really followed up with them, and they didn't really follow up with us. I don't know what happened, if they're still in business, but I need to get with Jordan and look into them again. One of the interesting things that they do is they also do like locker rental at parks. They'll like install lockers that you could rent out at parks that might have like basketballs in them, or maybe it's bike helmets near their bike fleet, or things like near beaches you could store your stuff in. So again, they were kind of a neat little niche company for smaller communities to really try and meet their needs. But we had one phone call with them and then never caught back up with them in any meaningful way. So that's worth looking into again.
Interesting. All kinds of history with that. I think that I've given up on the idea of having the docked bike share. It just doesn't seem right for Missoula, and then nationally, it just seems like it's like a mixed bag unless you're in just a huge urban center.
Yeah,
and
the ones that I've used that I've had a really great experience with are kind of a hybrid docked and dockless system, where there's a lock on the bike that you can lock to anywhere, but you have to return them to a dock when you're done with your ride. I've seen those in both Vancouver and New Orleans, and they were fantastic. And those were both kind of mediums, and much bigger than Missoula, but not the giant metropolises that you think of. They're really, really user friendly, and so that sort of thing could be great. The full dockless systems, at least when they were rolled out, certainly had some problems with them, with vandalism and abuse and things, and having them show up all in one place and not being super helpful to people when they needed them. Sure, they would get redistributed, in the middle of the night, but that didn't help people when they needed to. That sort of thing. It's a tough equation. It just hasn't made sense before, and quite frankly, I haven't looked into it in a couple of years because council said thanks but no thanks to the companies that were offering to come.
Interesting. Anyone else have any thoughts or concerns about it? Sounds like something we might need to circle back around on. Jessica.
Yeah, maybe I missed that. Does the Marriott rent out to people who stay there, non-guests? So would that be available to anyone, or is it just to guests of the Marriott?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think it depends on the individual one. He said that in some places they just financially support a bike share, like docked system. But then I know from my own research that in some Marriotts, they rent them like point of contact at the Marriott. I mean, they do hourly rentals, daily rentals, weekly rentals out of the Marriott building itself. But the manager here said that he didn't have good experiences with that, because then what do you do if someone has a flat tire or there's a mechanical problem, that they really would rather give money toward like another party who could help them support visitors on bicycles, but and provide them with them, but really they would just give the money. They wouldn't. But I didn't ask him specifically, like if I just was like, oh, I want to bike for an hour and I just hopped into the Marriott, would they let me rent one? I don't know. I kind of think they might, but I don't know.
I also think maybe it's just a symptom of them being so new to town, but the bike hangar does a Swift rental business just north of them. The Trailhead does bike rentals just south of them. I think that there are opportunities. Missoula Bicycle Works on the other side of the bridge does bike rentals. I think that certainly for someone who's like looking to go out and do some mountain biking and not just cruise around town and hit a brewery, there are certainly options within walking distance of the Marriott that are available already. That's different than kind of the bike share systems that I'm familiar with that are trying to meet a transportation need. But,
Right.
Yeah, something to think about.
All right, Kip, you got your hand up?
Yeah, do you have a sense of, would the Marriott pay for like a whole program to have like a handful of bikes, or did you get a sense for how much money they would be able to do?
I didn't. I was kind of taken aback, to be honest. I mean, I said, wow, would you, I mean, my ask for him was, would you provide rentals out of your building, yourself? And he goes, well, we do that some places, but what we prefer to do is just financially support a bike share in the community that has expertise in that area. So we're not dealing with all the mechanical stuff and upkeep and whatnot of their fleet. But I do think, I don't know. I mean, it seems like an interesting conversation to have about in other words, like in my mind, if I were staying at the Marriott, especially in the summer, and I wanted to go different places, it would keep me from using my car. If they had a bicycle in the lobby through a public bike library or whatever, and I could just rent it, get on it, and take it to dinner or to whatever sightseeing I wanted to do, it would keep me out of my car.
Yeah. In my experience, my only time using a bike share was in Fort Collins, and my parents had come to visit, and I didn't have a bike that fit my mom. And that was a perfect example. It worked really well. It seems like that could work here, even at a small scale, especially for like the summer tourist or friends or family coming. It seems like it could kick off, but I don't know.
I think so. I think it could too. I mean, I think there's a lot of potential there. It's just, I feel like when a big business like the Marriott with a lot of financial resources moves into your town, it's nice to be like the first people who ask them for something. I mean, I know that sounds, but like to advocate, like we want your visitors to be on bikes, not on cars, driving all around our city. We want you to, and how can we help you do that for them? And then he says, oh yeah, we'll give, we have resources we could commit to helping with that. And then I was kind of like, what would that be then?
Catherine, this is probably, at the very least, this is interesting information for our conversations around TDM in the downtown area, and maybe making some ask of Marriott's not the only new hotel. There's also I guess it's also a Marriott, but there's the AC and the Mercantile and the Bird or whatever it's called. The Wren. What's the one being called that's going into Days Inn space?
I think it's
Oh, I forgot about that.
And so maybe there's an opportunity to kind of approach them all, and maybe through the Downtown Association or MRA, and make some sort of pitch to all of them. So this is really helpful information. At the very least, this is helpful information for other conversations that we'll be having. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad for that. Jean, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things, and Ben mentioned it, the thing with the bike share was that they needed to say, well, we want to bring scooters in too. And as I remember, this about a year and a half ago, at least now, a lot of flack kind of came out from people concerned about scooters being used on the sidewalks. Of course, bikes can be used on the sidewalks too. And there was a whole issue about that. Well, do we need, if we're going to have all these bike shares, more bikes being used on sidewalks downtown, we want to put up the signs that we have to say we can't have bikes on the sidewalks in the downtown area. Sidewalks aren't really super wide in a lot of places, danger to pedestrians, and this and that. And so that's kind of what blew up the scooter thing a little bit. That's just my memory of it. So maybe that's one of the reasons why the whole maybe bike library thing might work out better, where we don't have to necessarily bring in the scooters like it seems like the bike share places want to do, is sort of a tandem thing, scooters and bikes. So just putting that out there, that I think we have to be a little bit concerned and ready about any blowback we might get in terms of pedestrians kind of coming out and saying, hey, we get enough problem with bikes on the sidewalks now, startling us, etc. And they'd be concerned about even more of that happening with bike share. So just something to keep in mind.
Thanks, Jean. I think that's very true. It's very true. The sidewalks and bikes, it's difficult, and having more bikes on the sidewalk would be difficult, but it has a lot of pros too, which is that a lot less trips by car, which would be great. All right. I think that's probably good for the bike share discussion. I think we might circle back on that at some point. It seems like a perennial discussion as things change and evolve. Any other comments from anybody on the board about the bike shares? Okay. Any announcements from anybody? I just want to say, please just ride bikes as much as the weather allows in May. It's just so many fun things. Take your family riding, go riding. We all sort of have had a really long winter. So I'm hoping that May is beautiful and we all get to go on some really nice bike rides. Our next meeting will be in May, Tuesday, May 4th, 3 p.m. via Zoom. Ben has warned me that the next meeting the agenda is robust with presentations. So I feel like our agenda is pretty well packed with that. I would love it if I will email you, Kip, when we get the posters so that we can connect for distributing them. Anyone who wants to help Gene out, send him an email for the poker ride or anything like that. That would be great. And thanks to everybody who's helped make Bike Month awesome.
Everybody get vaccinated.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't figure out how to raise my hand anymore, but I saw an email that if anybody knows anybody that's looking for a summer job who loves bicycles, Free Cycles is hiring right now. They're taking applications through, I think it's the 16th or the 19th, and it's on their website, but they're paying $13 an hour, and they're looking for people to work 32 to 40 hours a week, Wednesday through Saturday. They're willing to train, so it sounds like a good opportunity for the right person. They're going to hire several people, so spread the word about that.
Awesome. That's great, Britt. Thanks for sharing that. All right. Well, I hope you guys all have a great month. I think I think that we will adjourn early at 4:54 p.m. and we'll see you guys next month. And I appreciate all of you, and especially Missoula Motion. Thank you so much.
I have one non-biking or walking related announcement, and that is
Oh.
that Brit has released a new album that is available on Bandcamp. And if you have not had a chance to check it out yet, please do. It's fantastic to have people continuing to make and release music during the pandemic. I think that I, for one, have struggled with my creative endeavors being cooped up. And so I support and applaud you, Britt, for getting that out there.
Wow. All right. Good job, Britt. Well done. Okay. All right. We'll see you guys. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, everybody.